In this video, Reddit user shared, "Was the cemetery party the reason she left school? Her roommate and friends thought so. True story from my early 20s, although identities have been concealed. Year 2002 to 3. Myself and my small friends group from high school all went to college in the same state, although to different schools. Throughout our years in university, we'd visit each other at the different schools. One of my friends, Will, went to a small private college affiliated with the Catholic Church with a church, chapel, and graveyard on and near campus. Although Will was born in the US, his entire family was from the islands Jamaica. He was dating a girl from Trinidad. She had a roommate who was also from the Caribbean, from one of the Francophone islands. One autumn, I visited Will for a weekend. That first night, we all thought it would be a good idea to have a cemetery party at the cemetery. It was me, Will, his girlfriend, the roommate, Dominique, and a handful of others. I remember it needed to either be less than or more than 13, but it could not be 13. I was a little uncomfortable, but Dominique was downright freaked out by the whole thing. The cemetery is a good 30-minute trek from the dorms, but given that we had every intention to partake in booze and party favors, myself, Will, his girlfriend, and Dominique decided to walk. The others made their way there in 2 vehicles. The cemetery is in the shape of an L, the entrance being a long gravel path. At the very end, a large statue of a woman, a nun, a female saint, or possibly Mary in the center. To her right are wrought iron gates that then lead you to a large, sprawling plot of land. On the large plot of land is where the headstones and such are. It wasn't fenced in, but the whole area is completely encircled by a thicket of trees and bush. It's very much forested. The guys are acting a fool, but Will is mostly playing it cool. The girls, save Dominique, are acting all spooked out. Dominique is super anxious. I'm being quiet and watchful. I had a small digital camera. One of the guys says to take a picture of the entrance without a flash. I do. He then says to turn the flash on and take a picture. Dominique protests. I hesitate, but I do anyway. Orbs everywhere. Everywhere. Of course you can't rule out insects, but they definitely looked like orbs. Again, says one of the guys. Dominique pleads not to. I don't. We make our way down the gravel path, and when we get to the iron gate, just walk right around it. It's not gated. We set up our little party a few feet from the entrance, but a few of us do go into the cemetery to tour the graves. I'm not one of them, and neither is Dominique. So we're just sitting around a battery-powered camp lantern, drinking and smoking some herb. Yes, there were moments of eeriness and times when our hairs would stand on end, but it was mostly anticlimactic. Dominique wasn't having it at all though. She didn't really drink, didn't smoke. In fact, she mostly didn't even sit down. She stood closest to the gates as possible. Quiet. I remember looking over at her at one point and feeling so bad for her. Yes, I'd felt some peer pressure to be there too, but what she was feeling seemed to be 10 times worse. I then got this feeling in the pit of my stomach that something was wrong, something was off. I just couldn't quite put my finger on it. Maybe it was the beers, maybe it was weed, but I told Will, adding that I wanted to get out of there. He'd been playing it cool the entire time and just gave me a nod and said he'd meet me back at the dorm. I took the opportunity to ask Dominique if she wanted to go, and she couldn't have jumped at the chance fast enough. We left, made it back to the dorms. Everything seemed fine. Weekend finished uneventfully. However, a few weeks later I came to find out that Dominique left school quite abruptly. According to her roommate and friends, she had become convinced that something attached to her at the cemetery party, and whatever it was, it began haunting and tormenting her. According to Dominique, she was convinced that the something was some kind of witch. It was most surprising to her roommate, Will's girlfriend, because she had said it was so uncharacteristic for Dominique, who had excelled in school. At some point after learning all this, I took a look at the photo I had taken, the one with the flash. It gave me the complete creeps. I got goosebumps then, and I still get goosebumps now just thinking about it. I wish I still had that picture, but I can still see it in my mind's eye.